The awakening. The signal came from the stars without warning. Dr. Maya Rodriguez stood frozen before her monitoring station in the lunar signal array, her dark eyes wide with disbelief as the transmission pattern pulsed across her screen. After 15 years of scanning the cosmos for signs of extraterrestrial intelligence, she'd finally found it. Or rather, it had found her. "Commander Okafor," she called, her voice barely above a whisper. "You need to see this." The commander of Earth's deep space monitoring network approached with the measured calm of someone who had seen false alarms before, but as his eyes scanned the oscillating patterns, his composed expression faltered. "That's not one of ours," he muttered, leaning closer to the screen. "It's not anyone's," Maya replied. "At least not anyone human." The signal was unlike anything recorded in the vast catalogs of Earth's unified communications network. It pulsed with a mathematical precision that defied natural explanation, repeating in complex sequences that couldn't be random. But what made Maya's heart race wasn't just the alien nature of the transmission. It was where it was coming from. "It's originating from within Saturn's rings," she explained, pulling up the spatial coordinates. "From something that's been dormant until now." Within hours, the highest levels of the Earth Union government had been notified. Within days, a specialized expedition was assembled. Maya found herself aboard the Dauntless, humanity's most advanced long-range vessel, accelerating toward the ringed planet alongside a team of Earth's finest scientists, diplomats, and military personnel. The year was 2753 CE. Humanity had spread throughout the solar system, establishing colonies on Mars, the Moon, and several of Jupiter's and Saturn's moons. They had mastered fusion power, developed efficient interplanetary travel, and created a unified global government that had brought centuries of relative peace. But they had never encountered intelligent alien life. Until now, Captain Jin Wei stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, watching as Saturn's magnificent rings filled the view screen. After 2 weeks of travel, they had arrived at the coordinates where the signal originated. "Scan the area," he ordered, his voice betraying none of the anticipation building inside him. Lieutenant Kira Nomura's fingers danced across her console. "Captain, I'm detecting a structure embedded in the rings. It's massive, at least 3 kilometers in length." "Show me." The view screen shifted, zooming in on a section of Saturn's B ring. There, half hidden among the ice particles and rocky debris that made up the planet's rings, was an unmistakably artificial structure. Its surface was dark, absorbing the distant sunlight rather than reflecting it, making it nearly invisible. "Against the backdrop of space. It's been there all this time," Dr. Rodriguez whispered. "Hiding in plain sight." "Or waiting," the captain replied. "The question is, waiting for what?" As if in answer, the structure began to move, slowly at first, then with building speed, it extracted itself from the icy prison where it had lain dormant for unknown millennia. Ice particles scattered in its wake as the massive object oriented itself toward Earth. "It's a ship, Commander," Okafor breathed, watching as the ancient vessel awakened. "And it's heading home." Back on Earth, in the subterranean chambers beneath New Geneva, the seat of the Earth Union government, Director Elena Vasiliev stood before the assembled Council of Nations. The chamber was silent as she delivered news that would change human history forever. "The signal from Saturn was merely the beginning," she explained, her voice echoing in the vast hall. "It triggered a cascade of activations across our solar system. Dormant alien technology hidden on Mars, Venus, even here on Earth has begun to awaken." She gestured, and holographic displays illuminated around the chamber, showing excavation sites across Earth where strange artifacts had been unearthed in recent days. Artifacts that had begun emitting the same signal pattern detected from Saturn. "We believe these objects are part of an interconnected network, placed here by an advanced civilization approximately 30,000 years ago," For reasons unknown, they departed our solar system, leaving these technologies behind in a dormant state. Chancellor Rahman, the head of the Earth Union government, leaned forward. And now they're returning? Why? Director Vasiliev's expression was grim. Our analysis suggests these devices were never abandoned. They were seeds, planted to grow in our absence. A monitoring system designed to observe us without interference. Or a trigger, added General Mbeki, the Earth Union's chief of defense. Something designed to activate when we reached a certain technological threshold. Whatever their purpose, Vasiliev continued, the most significant discovery was made yesterday, beneath the Antarctic ice sheet. The holograms shifted again, showing an enormous cavern carved deep into the Antarctic bedrock. Within it sat an alien structure that dwarfed the human excavation equipment surrounding it. Its architecture was fluid, almost organic, with sweeping curves and materials that seemed to absorb light. We believe this is an archive, a repository of alien knowledge. And since the signal's activation, we've been able to access parts of it. The data we've recovered suggests that the beings who built these structures called themselves the Archivers. They were an ancient race, explorers and catalogers of the galaxy. And they're coming back, Chancellor Rahman concluded. Vasiliev nodded. The vessel approaching from Saturn appears to be an Archiver seed ship. Based on its current trajectory and speed, it will reach Earth in 7 days. The council chamber erupted in voices, some fearful, others excited, all demanding answers that no one could give. Maya Rodriguez stood in the massive alien archive beneath Antarctica, surrounded by technology that defied human understanding. Since returning from the Saturn expedition, she had been working day and night with a team of xenoarchaeologists, trying to decipher the Archiver database before the approaching ship arrived. We've managed to unlock another section, her colleague, Dr. Hiroshi Takeda, announced, his eyes gleaming with excitement. This one contains historical records, the Archiver's account of their time on Earth. Maya joined him at the translucent terminal, where alien symbols flowed like water across its surface. Through weeks of painstaking work, they had developed a rudimentary understanding of the Archiver language. They arrived on Earth approximately 32,000 years ago, Hiroshi explained as he navigated through the alien records. Earth was experiencing an ice age. Early humans existed, but in small, scattered groups. Did they interact with our ancestors? Maya asked. Hiroshi nodded. According to these records, they studied early humans extensively. They were particularly interested in our cognitive development, our capacity for abstract thought, creativity, and problem-solving. Maya frowned. Like scientists studying lab rats. More like gardeners tending to a promising new species, Hiroshi corrected. Look at this. He brought up an image that showed what appeared to be Archivers. Tall, slender beings with elongated limbs and large oval heads, standing alongside primitive humans. The aliens were demonstrating how to make tools, how to create fire. They were guiding our development, Maya realized. But why? Hiroshi continued navigating through the records. According to this, they were engaged in a vast galaxy-wide project, creating a network of intelligent species that could eventually join together in some sort of cosmic community. So, we're part of some alien social engineering experiment? Maya's voice held a note of indignation. Perhaps, Hiroshi acknowledged. But there's more. The records indicate they left because of some kind of threat, something they called the collapse. They retreated from numerous worlds, including Earth, but left these monitoring stations behind to alert them when it was safe to return. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. And now they think it's safe. Yes. But here's where it gets interesting. Hiroshi brought up another set of records. The Archivers expected to return within 1,000 years. Something delayed them for 30 times that long. Maya's mind raced with the implications. So they're coming back to a world very different from the one they left, to a humanity that's advanced far beyond what they anticipated. Hiroshi nodded solemnly. And they're coming to reclaim technologies that we've been studying, adapting, and incorporating into our own civilization without even knowing their origin. A voice from the entrance to the archive chamber interrupted them. Which means we need to be ready for them. Maya turned to see General Mbeki entering, accompanied by a team of Earth Union officials. His expression was resolute. Dr. Rodriguez, Dr. Takeda, your work here is invaluable, but time is running short. The Archiver vessel will reach Earth orbit in less than 48 hours. We need to know everything these records can tell us about their capabilities, their intentions, and most importantly, their weaknesses. Maya exchanged a glance with Hiroshi. General, from what we've learned, the Archivers weren't conquerors. They were scientists, explorers. That was 30,000 years ago, Mbeki replied grimly. We have no idea what they've become since then, or how they'll react to finding humans have taken possession of their technology. We must prepare for all possibilities. As if to emphasize his point, an alarm began to sound throughout the facility. One of the general's aides rushed forward with a tablet. Sir, we're detecting multiple new signals. The Archiver ship has accelerated. New estimated arrival time, 6 hours. Maya felt her heart skip a beat. After 30 millennia of absence, the Archivers were rushing their return. That couldn't be a good sign. There's something else you should know, Hiroshi said, his voice low. According to these records, the ship approaching Earth isn't where they left it. General Mbeki frowned. Explain. The Archivers had a much larger vessel, what they called a Nexus ship in orbit around Jupiter. That was their base of operations, not this seed ship from Saturn's rings. So where is this Nexus ship now? Mbeki demanded. Hiroshi shook his head. The records don't say, but if the Archivers are returning in a lesser vessel, then something happened to their main ship, Maya finished. Something they didn't plan for. As the implications of this revelation sank in, Maya turned her gaze to the flowing alien symbols on the archive terminal. The Archivers were returning to Earth after 30,000 years, in a ship that wasn't supposed to be there, to reclaim technology that humans had unwittingly built their civilization upon. First contact was hours away, and humanity was about to meet the beings who had shaped their distant past. Beings who might not approve of what their primitive protégés had become in their absence. The awakening was complete. Now the confrontation would begin. The confrontation. The Archiver ship entered Earth's atmosphere with impossible grace, defying the laws of physics as humans understood them. It descended through clouds that parted around its massive hull, leaving no vapor trail, generating no sonic boom despite its tremendous speed. The vessel was a stark contrast to human spacecraft, sleek, almost organic in design, with a surface that rippled like liquid metal in the sunlight. In the Plaza of Nations in New Geneva, Chancellor Rahman stood alongside Earth's highest officials. As the alien craft settled on the massive landing pad that had been hastily prepared for its arrival. Behind them, a carefully selected group of human representatives watched in awe. Scientists, diplomats, artists, and military personnel, chosen to represent the best of what humanity had become. Maya Rodriguez stood among them, her heart pounding. As the ship's surface rippled and then split open, forming an entrance where moments before there had been only seamless hull. Remember, General Mbeki whispered to the assembled officials, we show strength through dignity. We are not the primitive species they left behind. From the Archiver vessel emerged 3 tall, slender beings. Just as the archive records had shown, they had elongated limbs and large oval heads, but their skin, if it could be called that, shimmered with an iridescent quality, shifting colors like oil on water. They wore no clothing or equipment that the humans could identify, yet seemed to carry an aura of advanced technology about them. Chancellor Rahman stepped forward. On behalf of the unified people of Earth and its colonies, I welcome you to our world. The Central Archiver's head tilted slightly. When it spoke, the sound seemed to bypass the humans' ears and manifest directly in their minds, not as words, but as concepts that formed into Earth languages through some unexplained mechanism. This is not your world. The concept words resonated. It is a garden we cultivated. We have returned to harvest what we planted. The assembled humans exchanged uneasy glances. This was not the greeting they had hoped for. Much has changed in 30,000 years, Rahman replied carefully. Humanity has grown and developed. We have built civilizations, explored our solar system, and advanced our understanding of the universe. Using our tools, came the reply. Activating our seeds. We observe that you have discovered and awakened our archives and monitoring stations. These were not meant for your use. The Central Archiver stepped forward, towering over the human delegation. Its companions spread out to either side, their movements fluid and precise. We are the Archivers. We catalog worlds and species of promise. We cultivate potential. Your kind showed such potential, a capacity for abstract thought, for innovation. We provided guidance, then departed when the collapse threatened, leaving monitors to alert us when it was safe to return. And now you have, Maya said, unable to contain herself despite protocol. But in your absence, we've grown into a spacefaring civilization. We've developed our own technologies, our own culture. The Archiver turned its attention to her, and Maya felt the weight of its ancient intelligence pressing against her mind. You are the one who first received our signal. You have been studying our archive. It wasn't a question. Then you understand. What you call your own technologies are built upon foundations you discovered. Our foundations, left dormant for your protection and eventual reclamation. Chancellor Rahman stepped forward again. We propose an exchange of knowledge, a partnership between our peoples. There is much we could learn from each other. The Archivers conferred among themselves, their thoughts manifesting as ripples of color across their iridescent forms. Finally, the central figure addressed the humans again. We will examine what you have become in our absence. We will evaluate whether your development has proceeded according to the intended design. Then we will determine if partnership is possible or if recalibration is necessary. Maya felt a chill at the clinical detachment in the alien's thoughts. What do you mean by recalibration? She asked. The Archiver's reply was simple, yet horrifying. Correction of developmental errors. Return to baseline. Restart. In the command center beneath New Geneva, humanity's leaders gathered in emergency session. Holographic displays showed the Archiver ship, now surrounded by a shimmering field of energy that repelled all attempts at scanning or surveillance. They're evaluating us, General Mbeki said grimly. Like farmers inspecting a crop before deciding whether to harvest or plow it under. Director Vasilyev nodded. The archives confirm this is consistent with their methods. The Archivers cultivated numerous species across the galaxy. Some developed as intended, others did not. And what happened to those that didn't meet expectations? Chancellor Rahman asked, though his expression suggested he already knew the answer. The records are unclear, Vasilyev replied carefully. But they suggest the Archivers would start over. Reset the species to an earlier developmental stage, or in extreme cases, remove them entirely to make way for a more promising candidate. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They cannot simply undo 30,000 years of human progress, Rahman finally said. We will not allow it. With respect, Chancellor, Mbeki countered, we may not have a choice. The technology gap is substantial. The Archivers can manipulate matter and energy in ways our science can barely comprehend. Dr. Takeda, who had been quietly analyzing data in the corner, suddenly looked up. Perhaps not as substantial as we think. All eyes turned to him. The archives have given us insights into archiver technology that we've been integrating into our understanding, he explained. And there's something else. The archivers have been gone for 30,000 years, far longer than they intended. During that time, they've been isolated, possibly stagnant, while we've been evolving, innovating. What are you suggesting? Doctor, Rahman asked, that we might have advantages they don't expect. Human creativity and adaptability have always been our greatest strengths. We've taken their foundation technologies and developed them in directions they might never have considered. Maya, who had been silent since returning from the first contact meeting, suddenly straightened. He's right. The archivers are methodical, logical. They follow expected patterns. But humans, we're unpredictable. We make intuitive leaps. We see connections they might miss. That's hardly a military advantage, Mbeki scoffed. It might be, Maya insisted. Remember what we learned from the archive? The archivers were supposed to return in their Nexus ship, their main vessel. Instead, they've come in a seed ship, a lesser craft. Something happened to them during those 30,000 years, something that forced them to change their plans. The collapse they mentioned, Takeda nodded. Whatever it was, it kept them away far, longer than they intended. Which means they might be vulnerable, Maya continued. They might need us more than they're letting on. Chancellor Rahman considered this. How do we leverage that? We show them what we've become, Maya said. Not just what we've learned from their technology, but how we've transformed it, improved it in ways they never imagined. And if they still decide we're a failed experiment? Mbeki asked. Maya exchanged a glance with Takeda. Then we have one advantage they don't know about yet. The demonstration was set for the following day. In a massive hangar at the edge of New Geneva, humanity prepared to show the archivers what 30,000 years of evolution and innovation had produced. The three archivers arrived, still emanating that peculiar sense of ancient authority. They moved with fluid grace, scanning the assembled human technologies with what seemed like detached interest. Chancellor Rahman led the presentation. We have prepared a demonstration of how humanity has developed since your departure. We believe you will find that your investment in our species has yielded unexpected returns. The Central Archiver inclined its head slightly. Proceed. What followed was a carefully choreographed showcase of human achievement. Advanced fusion reactors that produced clean energy with greater efficiency than anything the archive records suggested the archivers had developed. Medical technologies that could regenerate limbs and cure diseases once thought terminal. Quantum computers that processed information at speeds that even impressed the ancient visitors. Throughout the demonstration, the archivers remained impassive, communicating occasionally among themselves in ripples of color that the humans couldn't interpret. Finally, Maya stepped forward to present the culmination of their showcase. Behind her stood what appeared to be a simple metal sphere, approximately 1 meter in diameter. This device represents our adaptation of what we believe was one of your monitoring technologies, she explained. We discovered the principles in your archive, but developed our own applications. She activated the sphere, which rose silently into the air. Its surface began to shimmer, then expanded outward in a cascade of light. Suddenly, the hangar was filled with a three-dimensional model of Earth's solar system, rendered in perfect detail down to the smallest moons and asteroid fragments. This is a real-time sensory map, Maya explained. It shows everything within our solar system, updated continuously. The archivers studied the display with greater interest than they had shown for any previous demonstration. This is unexpected, the Central Archiver admitted. Our monitoring technology was not designed to function at this scale or resolution. We improved it, Maya said simply. We've made similar advancements with many of the foundation technologies we discovered. Human innovation has taken your seeds and grown them in directions you might not have anticipated. The archivers conferred among themselves again, their color ripples more intense than before. When they turned back to the humans, there was a subtle change in their demeanor. You have indeed developed beyond our projections. This is unusual, but not displeasing. However, there is a more urgent matter we must discuss. The central archiver raised a slender limb, and the holographic display of the solar system shifted, zooming out to show the surrounding interstellar space. A new point of light appeared at the edge of the display, a massive object moving toward the solar system. The collapse that forced our retreat was not a natural phenomenon, the archiver explained. It was another species, one we had also cultivated, but which evolved in unexpected directions. They became known as the harvesters. They do not cultivate, they consume. They destroyed our Nexus ship and pursued us across the galaxy. The humans exchanged alarmed glances as the implications became clear. The harvesters have followed us here, the archiver continued. They will arrive within 60 days. When they do, they will not seek to evaluate or recalibrate. They will consume. First your technology, then your biosphere, and finally your star itself. Chancellor Rahman's face had gone pale. And you led them directly to us. It was not our intention, the archiver replied with what almost seemed like regret. We believed we had evaded them. We were wrong. So what now? General, Mbeki demanded. You unleash this threat on us, then what? You expect us to help you fight them? Or are you planning to abandon Earth again? Neither, the archiver responded. We have been fleeing for too long. There are too few systems remaining that have not been consumed. We must make our stand here, with the tools and technologies at our disposal. Including us, Maya said quietly. You need us now. The archiver turned its attention to her. Your species has developed technologies based on our foundations, but in novel directions. This creativity may provide an advantage the harvesters will not anticipate. You want to use us as weapons, Mbeki said flatly. We offer an alliance, the archiver corrected. Combined, our knowledge might be sufficient to repel the harvesters. Separated, we will fall, one after another. A tense silence fell over the hangar. The humans who had arrived, prepared to fight for their independence, now found themselves facing a much greater threat, one that would require cooperation with the very beings who had so recently threatened to recalibrate their entire species. We need to discuss this among ourselves, Chancellor Rahman finally said. There is little time for discussion, the archiver warned. The harvesters move quickly once they have located a target system. Rahman stood firm. Nevertheless, this decision affects all of humanity. We will not make it without proper consideration. The archiver seemed to study him for a moment, then inclined its head in what might have been respect. Very well. We will await your decision. But know this, the harvesters cannot be reasoned with. They cannot be appeased. They are the end of all things they touch. And they are coming. In the secure chamber deep beneath New Geneva, Maya stood before Earth's assembled leaders. The emergency council session had been going for hours, with opinions divided on how to respond to the archiver's warning and proposal of alliance. We can't trust them, Mbeki insisted. This could be an elaborate deception to force our cooperation, to make us willing subjects rather than resistant ones. The threat appears genuine, Director Vasiliev countered. Our long-range sensors have detected an anomaly at the edge of our solar system, consistent with the archiver's warning. Something is coming. Even if the threat is real, another council member argued, how do we know the archivers won't sacrifice us to save themselves? They've made it clear they see us as their experiment, their property. Chancellor Rahman turned to Maya. Dr. Rodriguez, You've studied the archive more extensively than anyone. What insight can you offer? Maya took a deep breath. The archives contain references to the harvesters. They were indeed another species cultivated by the archivers, one that evolved to consume rather than create. According to the records, they've destroyed dozens of civilizations across the galaxy. So, the threat is real, Rahman concluded grimly. Yes, Maya nodded. But there's something else, something we discovered just before the archivers arrived. Something we haven't told them yet. She activated a holographic display, showing complex schematics that few in the room could comprehend. In the deepest levels of the archive, we found references to a defensive technology the archivers were developing against the harvesters. They never completed it. The harvesters attacked before they could finish their work, but we've been able to reconstruct their research, and more importantly, we've found a way to complete it using human innovations. Murmurs spread through the council chamber. You're suggesting we have the means to defeat this threat? Rahman asked cautiously. Potentially, Maya replied. But it would require resources, coordination, and... She hesitated. Cooperation with the archivers. Their knowledge combined with our innovations might be the only way to activate the defense system in time. And what happens after? Mbeki demanded. If we succeed, what prevents the archivers from recalibrating us once the threat is eliminated? Maya's expression was resolute. By then, they'll understand that we're not just their experiment anymore. We've become something they never anticipated. Their equals, perhaps even their saviors. Chancellor Rahman considered this for a long moment, the weight of humanity's future heavy on his shoulders. We need assurances, he finally said. If we agree to this alliance, it must be as partners, not as subjects. The archivers must recognize humanity's independence and our right to self-determination. And if they refuse? Someone asked. Rahman's expression hardened. Then we face the harvesters alone, with whatever defenses we can muster. Better to fall as free beings than to survive as someone else's property. The council chamber fell silent as his words sank in. The choice was clear, if grim. Negotiate an alliance with the beings who had once seen humans as their experimental subjects, or face cosmic annihilation alone. Dr. Rodriguez, Rahman said, prepare a response to the archivers. Tell them we are willing to discuss an alliance, but only as equals, not as their property. And tell them we have something they need to see. As Maya nodded and turned to leave, a sudden alarm blared throughout the facility. Director Vasiliev rushed to a communication terminal, her face paling as she received the update. The anomaly at the edge of our solar system, she announced, her voice tight with urgency. It's accelerating. New estimated arrival time, 20 days, not 60. The council erupted in voices of alarm. 20 days to prepare for a threat that had destroyed civilizations far more advanced than Earth's. 20 days to forge an alliance with beings who still viewed humans as their creation. 20 days to determine the fate of not just humanity, but perhaps the entire galaxy. The confrontation with the archivers had only been the beginning. The true test was yet to come. The resolution. The chambers of the Antarctic Archive hummed with an energy that was neither fully human nor fully archiver in origin. For 18 days, the unlikely alliance had worked tirelessly, merging two vastly different approaches to science and technology in a desperate race against extinction. Maya Rodriguez stood at a console alongside the archiver she had come to know as the emissary. Unlike its companions, this archiver had developed a curious interest in human methods and thinking. It had even adopted a name humans could pronounce, Talus, though Maya suspected this was more for efficiency of communication than any real desire to accommodate human customs. The integration is at 70%, Maya reported, watching as human and archiver systems merged into something entirely new. but we're still having stability issues in the quantum lattice. Talus's iridescent skin rippled with blue and green patterns. Thoughtfulness, Maya had learned to interpret. Your approach to quantum entanglement is unusual. You force connections where we would allow them to form naturally. We don't have the luxury of time, Maya reminded the alien. Humans have always had to find shortcuts. Perhaps that is why you have progressed so rapidly, Talus observed. Necessity driving innovation. Before Maya could respond, Dr. Takeda hurried into the chamber, his expression grim. The harvester vessel has crossed Neptune's orbit. 19 days, not 20. We're running out of time. Maya turned back to her work with renewed urgency. The defensive system they were developing, called Nexus Shield in honor of the Archiver's lost vessel, represented the culmination of both civilizations' technological capabilities. Based on the unfinished Archiver designs found in the deepest levels of the archive, the shield would theoretically create a quantum barrier around the solar system, preventing the harvesters from using their primary method of attack, the consumption of space-time itself. But theory and practice were separated by a vast gulf of engineering challenges, cultural differences, and mutual suspicion that even the looming threat couldn't entirely dispel. Chancellor Rahman is requesting an update, Takeda added. The planetary evacuation protocols are in place, but everyone knows shelters won't save us if the shield fails. Maya nodded grimly. In the 18 days since the alliance had been formed, Earth had mobilized with unprecedented unity. Colonial ships that normally ferried people and supplies between Earth and its settlements on Mars and the Moon had been repurposed as potential evacuation vessels. Underground bunkers had been expanded and stocked. Military forces from every nation had been unified under a single command structure, but everyone knew these were desperate measures with little hope of success. If the harvesters couldn't be stopped, humanity's extinction was all but assured. There is another matter we must discuss, Talus said, interrupting Maya's thoughts. The activation mechanism for the shield. Maya tensed. This had been a point of contention between the human and Archiver teams. The shield required a physical activation point, a nexus where the quantum barrier would originate and spread outward to encompass the solar system. The Archivers had insisted this point should be their ship, with them in control of the technology. Our position hasn't changed, Maya said firmly. The activation must be controlled jointly, with redundant systems on both Earth and your vessel. Talus's skin rippled with patterns Maya couldn't interpret. Recent calculations suggest this would reduce efficiency by 12%. In a system with so many variables, this margin could be critical. So could trust, Maya countered. We're not handing over control of humanity's only defense to beings who just 19 days ago were contemplating our recalibration. The Archiver was silent for a moment, its colors shifting slowly. Your species' distrust is understandable, but inefficient. It's kept us alive for 30,000 years, Maya replied. And it's non-negotiable. Either we control the shield, together, or we find another solution. Before Talus could respond, an alarm sounded throughout the facility. The main view screen activated automatically, showing a real-time feed from Earth's outer defense network. The harvester ship had appeared at the edge of Jupiter's orbit, far ahead of even their accelerated schedule. That's impossible, Takeda gasped. They can't have crossed that distance so quickly. Talus's skin paled to an almost translucent white. Fear, Maya realized with a shock. They are using space-time consumption to accelerate their approach. The process has already begun. The harvester vessel was unlike anything humans had ever seen. Not a ship in any conventional sense, but a writhing mass of darkness that seemed to devour the very light around it. Stars behind it flickered and dimmed, as if being drained of their energy. Even through the view screen, Maya felt a primal dread at the sight of it. We are out of time, Talus stated flatly. The shield is our only hope, incomplete as it is. Maya's mind raced. What about the stability issues? Without proper calibration, the quantum lattice could collapse. Then we will calibrate it during deployment, Talus replied. There is no alternative. Maya exchanged a look with Takeda. They both knew the risks were enormous, but the alternative was extinction. Inform Chancellor Rahman, she told him. We're activating the shield now. Aboard the Dauntless, now positioned at the midpoint between Earth and Mars, Captain Jin Wei watched the approaching horror with a calm he didn't feel. His ship, along with 12 others, formed a defensive perimeter that everyone knew was merely symbolic. Conventional weapons would be useless against the Harvesters, but humanity would not face extinction without at least a token resistance. Sir, Lieutenant Nomura reported, we're receiving a transmission from Antarctic Command. They're activating the shield. Wei nodded, relief momentarily overwhelming his dread. Relay to all ships. Hold position, but do not engage unless directly attacked. Our job is to buy them time. On the main view screen, the Harvester continued its inexorable approach. As it passed Callisto, Jupiter's outermost major moon, the effects of its passage became horrifyingly clear. The moon's surface seemed to ripple, then crack, and finally disintegrate, not into fragments but into nothingness, as if the very atoms that composed it were being unwritten from reality. My God, someone whispered on the bridge. Wei's grip tightened on the arms of his command chair. Steady. Remember your training. But no training could have prepared them for what came next. The Harvester accelerated again, crossing the distance to Mars in minutes rather than days. The red planet's orbit wobbled as the massive entity approached, distorting the surrounding space-time. Antarctic Command reports shield activation in 60 seconds, Nomura announced, her voice admirably steady. Wei watched as the Harvester vessel approached the Martian defense fleet. 3 ships opened fire with their most powerful weapons, fusion torpedoes and graviton beams that could shatter a small moon. The attacks vanished into the darkness of the Harvester without visible effect. Then, with a casual gesture that seemed almost contemptuous, the Harvester released a pulse of energy. The Martian fleet vanished, along with the planet's smaller moon, Phobos. 30 seconds to shield activation, Nomura counted down. The Harvester continued its advance, now on a direct course for Earth. Wei could feel the tension on his bridge, the fear that they would be next. All ships, maintain position, he ordered. Whatever happens, we hold the line. 10 seconds, Nomura whispered. 9, 8. The Harvester's form seemed to expand, tendrils of darkness reaching out toward the Earth defense fleet. 3, 2, 1. A pulse of blinding light erupted from Earth, expanding outward at impossible speed. As it passed through the Dauntless, Wei felt a strange, tingling sensation, as if every atom in his body was being gently rearranged. The wave continued outward, encompassing Mars, Jupiter, and beyond, creating a perfect sphere around the solar system. For a moment, everything was still. Then the Harvester struck the barrier. The collision was silent but visually spectacular. Where the dark mass touched the shield, brilliant fractal patterns erupted, spreading like lightning across the barrier's surface. The Harvester recoiled, then attacked again, this time with concentrated force against a single point. Shield holding at 87% integrity, Nomura reported, reading the data streaming from Antarctic Command. The defensive systems are responding. Wei allowed himself a small smile. For the first time since the Harvesters had been detected, he felt a glimmer of hope. That hope was short-lived. The view screen suddenly filled with static, then cleared to show the shield's surface rippling like disturbed water. Massive cracks began to form where the Harvester pressed against it. Shield integrity dropping rapidly, Nomura reported, her voice tight with renewed fear. 62%? 54%? Wei opened a channel to Antarctic Command. "This is Captain Wei. Shield is failing. Requesting instructions." The response came not from command, but from Dr. Rodriguez herself. "We see it, Captain. The quantum lattice is destabilizing faster than we anticipated. We're attempting to compensate." 30,000 years later, aliens return to Earth, but their ship isn't where they left it. Part 3. The Resolution. The chambers of the Antarctic Archive hummed with an energy that was neither fully human nor fully archiver in origin. For 18 days, the unlikely alliance had worked tirelessly, merging two vastly different approaches to science and technology in a desperate race against extinction. Maya Rodriguez stood at a console alongside the archiver she had come to know as the emissary. Unlike its companions, this archiver had developed a curious interest in human methods and thinking. It had even adopted a name humans could pronounce, Talus, though Maya suspected this was more for efficiency of communication than any real desire to accommodate human customs. "The integration is at 70%, Maya reported, watching as human and archiver systems merged into something entirely new. "But we're still having stability issues in the quantum lattice." Talus's iridescent skin rippled with blue and green patterns, thoughtfulness Maya had learned to interpret. "Your approach to quantum entanglement is unusual. You force connections where we would allow them to form naturally." "We don't have the luxury of time," Maya reminded the alien. "Humans have always had to find shortcuts." "Perhaps that is why you have progressed so rapidly," Talus observed. "Necessity driving innovation." Before Maya could respond, Dr. Takeda hurried into the chamber, his expression grim. "The Harvester vessel has crossed Neptune's orbit. 19 days, not 20. We're running out of time." Maya turned back to her work with renewed urgency. The defensive system they were developing, called Nexus Shield in honor of the archiver's lost vessel, represented the culmination of both civilizations' technological capabilities. Based on the unfinished archiver designs found in the deepest levels of the archive, the shield would theoretically create a quantum barrier around the solar system, preventing the harvesters from using their primary method of attack, the consumption of space-time itself. But theory and practice were separated by a vast gulf of engineering challenges, cultural differences, and mutual suspicion that even the looming threat couldn't entirely dispel. "Chancellor Rahman is requesting an update," Takeda added. "The planetary evacuation protocols are in place, but everyone knows shelters won't save us if the shield fails." Maya nodded grimly. In the 18 days since the alliance had been formed, Earth had mobilized with unprecedented unity. Colonial ships that normally ferried people and supplies between Earth and its settlements on Mars and the Moon had been repurposed as potential evacuation vessels. Underground bunkers had been expanded and stocked. Military forces from every nation had been unified under a single command structure, but everyone knew these were desperate measures with little hope of success. If the harvesters couldn't be stopped, humanity's extinction was all but assured. "There is another matter we must discuss," Talus said, interrupting Maya's thoughts. "The activation mechanism for the shield." Maya tensed. This had been a point of contention between the human and archiver teams. The shield required a physical activation point, a nexus where the quantum barrier would originate and spread outward to encompass the solar system. The archivers had insisted this point should be their ship, with them in control of the technology. "Our position hasn't changed," Maya said firmly. "The activation must be controlled jointly, with redundant systems on both Earth and your vessel." Talus's skin rippled with patterns Maya couldn't interpret. "Recent calculations suggest this would reduce efficiency by 12%. In a system with so many variables, this margin could be critical." "So could trust," Maya countered. "We're not handing over control of humanity's only defense to beings who, just 19 days ago, were contemplating our recalibration." The Archiver was silent for a moment, its colors shifting slowly. Your species' distrust is understandable, but inefficient. It's kept us alive for 30,000 years, Maya replied. And it's non-negotiable. Either we control the shield together, or we find another solution. Before Talus could respond, an alarm sounded throughout the facility. The main view screen activated automatically, showing a real-time feed from Earth's outer defense network. The Harvester ship had appeared at the edge of Jupiter's orbit, far ahead of even their accelerated schedule. That's impossible, Takeda gasped. They can't have crossed that distance so quickly. Talus's skin paled to an almost translucent white. Fear, Maya realized with a shock. They are using space-time consumption to accelerate their approach. The process has already begun. The Harvester vessel was unlike anything humans had ever seen. Not a ship in any conventional sense, but a writhing mass of darkness that seemed to devour the very light around it. Stars behind it flickered and dimmed as if being drained of their energy. Even through the view screen, Maya felt a primal dread at the sight of it. "We are out of time," Talus stated flatly. "The shield is our only hope, incomplete as it is." Maya's mind raced. What about the stability issues? Without proper calibration, the quantum lattice could collapse. "Then we will calibrate it during deployment," Talus replied. "There is no alternative." Maya exchanged a look with Takeda. They both knew the risks were enormous, but the alternative was extinction. "Inform Chancellor Rahman," she told him. "We're activating the shield now." Aboard the Dauntless, now positioned at the midpoint between Earth and Mars, Captain Jin Wei watched the approaching horror with a calm he didn't feel. His ship, along with 12 others, formed a defensive perimeter that everyone knew was merely symbolic. Conventional weapons would be useless against the Harvesters, but humanity would not face extinction without at least a token resistance. "Sir," Lieutenant Nomura reported, "we're receiving a transmission from Antarctic Command. They're activating the shield." Wei nodded, relief momentarily overwhelming his dread. "Relay to all ships. Hold position, but do not engage unless directly attacked. Our job is to buy them time." On the main view screen, the Harvester continued its inexorable approach. As it passed Callisto, Jupiter's outermost major moon, the effects of its passage became horrifyingly clear. The moon's surface seemed to ripple, then crack, and finally disintegrate, not into fragments, but into nothingness, as if the very atoms that composed it were being unwritten from reality. "My God," someone whispered on the bridge. Wei's grip tightened on the arms of his command chair. "Steady. Remember your training." But no training could have prepared them for what came next. The Harvester accelerated again, crossing the distance to Mars in minutes rather than days. The red planet's orbit wobbled as the massive entity approached, distorting the surrounding space-time. "Antarctic Command reports shield activation in 60 seconds, Nomura announced, her voice admirably steady. Wei watched as the Harvester vessel approached the Martian defense fleet. 3 ships opened fire with their most powerful weapons, fusion torpedoes and graviton beams that could shatter a small moon. The attacks vanished into the darkness of the Harvester without visible effect. Then, with a casual gesture that seemed almost contemptuous, the Harvester released a pulse of energy. The Martian fleet vanished, along with the planet's smaller moon, Phobos. 30 seconds to shield activation, Nomura counted down. The Harvester continued its advance, now on a direct course for Earth. Wei could feel the tension on his bridge, the fear that they would be next. "All ships, maintain position," he ordered. "Whatever happens, we hold the line." 10 seconds, Nomura whispered. 9, 8. The Harvester's form seemed to expand, tendrils of darkness reaching out toward the Earth defense fleet. 3, 2, 1. A pulse of blinding light, erupted from Earth, expanding outward at impossible speed. As it passed through the Dauntless, Wei felt a strange tingling sensation, as if every atom in his body was being gently rearranged. The wave continued outward, encompassing Mars, Jupiter, and beyond, creating a perfect sphere around the solar system. For a moment, everything was still. Then the harvester struck the barrier. The collision was silent but visually spectacular. Where the dark mass touched the shield, brilliant fractal patterns erupted, spreading like lightning across the barrier's surface. The harvester recoiled, then attacked again, this time with concentrated force against a single point. Shield holding at 87% integrity, Nomura reported, reading the data streaming from Antarctic Command. The defensive systems are responding. Wei allowed himself a small smile. For the first time since the harvesters had been detected, he felt a glimmer of hope. That hope was short-lived. The view screen suddenly filled with static, then cleared to show the shield's surface rippling like disturbed water. Massive cracks began to form where the harvester pressed against it. Shield integrity dropping rapidly, Nomura reported, her voice tight with renewed fear. 62%, 54%. Wei opened a channel to Antarctic Command. "This is Captain Wei. Shield is failing. Requesting instructions." The response came not from Command, but from Dr. Rodriguez herself. "We see it, Captain. The quantum lattice is destabilizing faster than we anticipated. We're attempting to compensate." In the background, Wei could hear the sounds of frantic activity, orders being shouted in both human languages, and the strange harmonic tones the archivers used to communicate among themselves. "Shield at 41% and dropping," Nomura updated. "At this rate, we have less than 5 minutes before complete failure." Wei made a quick decision. "All ships, prepare to engage. We may not be able to stop this thing, but we can buy Earth a few more minutes." In the Antarctic facility, chaos reigned. The shield was failing faster than anyone had predicted, the quantum lattice unable to withstand the harvester's attacks. "We need more power," Maya shouted over the alarms. "Divert energy from all secondary systems." Technicians rushed to comply, but everyone knew it was a stopgap measure at best. The shield's fundamental structure was flawed, the result of rushing its completion and deployment. Talus moved to Maya's side. Its colors shifted to deep reds and oranges. Urgency, perhaps anger. "The fault is in the interface between our technologies. The human components cannot sustain the energy throughput." "Then help me fix it," Maya snapped, her fingers flying over the controls as she attempted to stabilize the collapsing system. "There is no time to fix it," Talus replied. "There is only one option now." The archiver placed one elongated hand on the console, and the system's displays suddenly changed, showing new configurations Maya didn't recognize. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "What must be done?" Talus answered. "Our ship will move to intercept the harvester directly. We will overload our core and create a localized rupture in space-time. A temporary singularity." Maya's eyes widened as she realized what the archiver was proposing. "That's suicide. For us, yes. But the singularity will draw the harvester in, removing it from this reality long enough for you to repair the shield." "You can't," Maya began, but Talus cut her off. "We can and must. In 30,000 years of fleeing, we have lost too much. Too many worlds have fallen because we chose escape over confrontation." The archiver's colors shifted to a deep, resolute blue. "It is time we stood our ground, as you humans would say." On the main screen, they watched as the archiver vessel detached from its docking station and accelerated toward the failing shield. Behind them, the door to the command center opened, and Chancellor Rahman entered, accompanied by General Mbeki. "Dr. Rodriguez," Rahman called. "We're receiving reports of shield failure. What options do we have?" Maya turned to face him, her expression grim. The archivers are going to sacrifice their ship to create a temporary singularity. Try to buy us time to repair the shield. Rahman's face showed momentary shock, then solemn understanding. They're giving their lives for us? Not just for you, Talus corrected. For all who have fallen and all who might yet survive. The harvesters have consumed too many worlds. If they are not stopped here, they will continue until the galaxy is empty. The archiver turned to Maya. The singularity will last approximately 6 hours. In that time, you must complete the shield with a pure human approach. Our attempts to merge our technologies have failed, perhaps because they were never meant to be merged. What do you mean? Maya asked. Your species thinks differently. You innovate where we calculate. You imagine where we analyze. The shield must be rebuilt using human intuition, not archiver precision. Talus extended a hand, a surprisingly human gesture, and Maya took it, feeling the strange, cool texture of the alien's skin. In our archive, you will find all the knowledge we possess. Use it, but adapt it as only humans can. That is why we chose your world 30,000 years ago. We saw your potential for adaptation, for finding solutions where none should exist. On the view screen, the archiver ship breached the failing shield and accelerated toward the harvester. The dark entity seemed to hesitate, possibly confused by this new development. How do we rebuild the shield in just 6 hours? Maya asked, desperately. It took us 18 days to get this far. By doing what humans have always done, Talus replied, its color shifting to a warm golden hue. By finding a shortcut. The archiver stepped back, joining its 2 companions who had entered the chamber silently. We have transmitted all we know to your systems. The rest is in your hands. Before anyone could respond, the 3 archivers seemed to shimmer, then vanish, transported back to their vessel in its final moments. On the screen, the archiver ship reached the harvester. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a blinding flash filled the display as the alien's core overloaded. Where the 2 vessels had been, a swirling vortex of darkness appeared, a tear in the fabric of reality itself. The harvester, caught in its gravitational pull, was drawn inexorably into the singularity. As quickly as it had begun, it was over. Where a planet-destroying threat had loomed, there was now only the singularity. A black wound in space, slowly pulsing as it consumed itself. They did it, Takeda whispered. They sacrificed themselves to save us. Maya stood in stunned silence for a moment, then turned to face the assembled humans. We have 6 hours before that singularity collapses and the harvester returns. 6 hours to rebuild the shield using our own methods. Chancellor Rahman stepped forward. What do you need? Maya's mind was already racing, processing what Talus had told her about human innovation and intuition. Every quantum physicist, engineer, and programmer we have, and... She hesitated, then committed to an idea that had been forming since. Her conversations with Talus, access to the global entertainment network. Rahman looked confused. The entertainment network? Why? Because we need creativity, not just calculation, Maya explained. The archivers tried to build the shield using pure logic and precision. It failed because the universe isn't just logical, it's chaotic, unpredictable. To defend against that chaos, we need to embrace it. She turned to Dr. Takeda. Remember what you said when we first found the archive? That humans take alien concepts and develop them in directions the creators never imagined? That's our advantage. We need to stop trying to think like archivers and start thinking like humans. For the first time in days, Maya felt a genuine surge of hope. The archivers had given them a chance, not just to survive, but to prove that humanity's unpredictable creativity was a force as powerful as any technology in the galaxy. "Let's get to work," she said, already moving toward the console where Talus had transferred the complete Archiver knowledge base. "We've got a universe to save." 5 hours and 37 minutes later, Maya stood in the center of what had once been the SHIELD control room, but now resembled something between a scientific laboratory and an artist's studio. Holographic projections filled the air, showing a dizzying array of mathematical equations, engineering schematics, and strangely beautiful abstract patterns that seemed to shift and evolve as she watched. The global call for creativity had yielded unexpected results. While the world's top scientists worked on the technical aspects of the SHIELD, artists, musicians, game designers, and even children had contributed ideas and perspectives that no conventional scientific approach would have considered. The resulting design was unlike anything the archivers could have imagined, a shield that didn't just create a static barrier but adapted and evolved in response to threats, much like humanity itself. "Final integration complete," Dr. Takeda announced from his station. "SHIELD 2.0 is ready for activation." Maya nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. "Status of the singularity?" "Collapsing rapidly," replied Lieutenant Nomura, who had been reassigned from the Dauntless to coordinate with the defense fleet. "Estimated breakdown in 16 minutes. Chancellor Rahman stepped forward. "Are we confident this will work?" Maya met his gaze steadily. "No, Chancellor, we can't be certain of anything. This design breaks every rule of conventional physics. It shouldn't work at all, according to everything we thought we knew." "But?" Rahman prompted, sensing her unspoken thought. "But it feels right," Maya said simply. "The archivers spent millennia perfecting logical, predictable systems, and the harvesters still found ways to break them. Maybe what we need isn't a perfect defense, but an unpredictable one." Rahman considered this, then nodded. "Proceed with activation." Maya turned to the main console, no longer the sleek, logical interface the archivers had designed, but a hybrid creation that incorporated elements from video game controllers, musical instruments, and intuitive human interfaces. She placed her hands on the primary activation nodes. "Initiating SHIELD harmonization," she announced. "All stations, stand by for quantum field generation." Throughout the solar system, the network of devices they had hastily deployed began to activate. Unlike the original SHIELD, which had generated a single, uniform barrier, this new defense created thousands of overlapping fields, each with slightly different properties and frequencies. The result, in theory, would be a defense that could not be systematically analyzed or exploited because it wasn't built on a single system but on countless variations. "Quantum field generators at 60% and rising," Takeda reported. "SHIELD formation beginning." On the view screen, they watched as shimmering patches of energy began to appear throughout the solar system, first around Earth, then Mars, then spreading outward in a seemingly random pattern. Where the fields overlapped, they created complex interference patterns that pulsed and shifted constantly. "It's beautiful," someone whispered. Maya couldn't argue. The new SHIELD was indeed beautiful, an expression of human creativity as much as scientific principles. As the generators reached full power, the individual fields began to connect, forming a complex network that extended throughout the entire solar system. "SHIELD integrity at 95%, Takeda announced. "All systems functioning within optimal parameters." Maya allowed herself a small smile of relief, though she knew the true test was yet to come. "Singularity collapse in 3 minutes, Nomura warned. "Prepare for harvester reemergence." The room fell silent as all eyes turned to the view screen, where the swirling darkness of the singularity was visibly contracting. Maya found herself holding her breath as the final seconds counted down. "Singularity collapse in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The black vortex shuddered, then imploded with a flash of impossible light. Where it had been, the harvester reappeared, but something had changed. The dark entity seemed diminished somehow, its form less coherent, tendrils of energy dissipating into the surrounding space. The singularity damaged it, Takeda realized aloud. The archiver's sacrifice weakened the harvester. But weakened or not, the entity was still a deadly threat. It paused only briefly, as if orienting itself, then surged forward toward Earth once more. "Here it comes," Maya whispered. "Let's see if our shield holds." The harvester struck the new defense system with the same overwhelming force that had nearly shattered the original shield. But this time, the result was dramatically different. Instead of creating cracks or weakening the barrier, the harvester's attack was absorbed, redirected, and reflected back in unpredictable patterns. Where the entity pressed against one field, others shifted to reinforce it, creating a constantly changing defense that adapted to each attack strategy. "It's working!" Takeda exclaimed, monitoring the shield's integrity. "The adaptive algorithms are responding exactly as designed." The harvester seemed confused by this unexpected resistance. It changed tactics, concentrating its attack on what appeared to be a weaker section of the shield, only to find that section suddenly strengthened as others temporarily reduced their power to compensate. "Shield integrity holding steady at 93%, Nomura reported, disbelief and hope mingling in her voice. "The harvester can't find a consistent point of attack." For nearly an hour, the entity continued its assault, trying every conceivable approach to breach the shield. Each time, the human-designed defense adapted, rerouted power, and maintained its integrity. The harvester's attacks gradually became less coordinated, less powerful, as if the entity itself was becoming exhausted by the futile effort. Finally, in a move that stunned the watching humans, the harvester began to retreat. "It's pulling. Back," Nomura confirmed, checking her instruments. "Moving away from the shield at increasing velocity." "Is it giving up?" Rahman asked incredulously. Maya shook her head. "I doubt it. More likely regrouping. Perhaps calling for reinforcements." "Then we need to press our advantage," General Mbeki declared. "If the shield can keep it out, perhaps it can also be used offensively." Maya had been considering the same possibility. The shield's design, based on overlapping quantum fields, might be adaptable to create a projection rather than just a barrier, a way to extend their defense beyond the solar system. "Dr. Takeda," she called, "reconfigure the quantum grid for outward projection. Let's see if we can give the harvester something to really worry about." As the scientists worked to adapt their creation for this new purpose, Chancellor Rahman approached Maya. "Dr. Rodriguez," he said quietly, "what you and your team have accomplished here is nothing short of miraculous. You've saved humanity." Maya smiled, though exhaustion lined her face. "Not just me, Chancellor, and not just humanity. We built this shield because the archivers showed us it was possible, then trusted us to find our own way to make it work. Their sacrifice gave us the chance. Human ingenuity did the rest." Rahman nodded thoughtfully. "And once this crisis is truly over, what then? With the knowledge the archivers have left us, humanity's future has been fundamentally altered." "I think that's what they intended all along," Maya replied. "Not to reclaim their technology, but to see what we'd done with the seeds they planted. In the end, they recognized us not as their experiment, but as their legacy." Before Rahman could respond, Dr. Takeda called out from his station. "Reconfiguration complete. The shield can now project focused quantum fields beyond our solar system." Maya returned to the main console. "Target the retreating harvester. Let's show it that humanity is not just capable of defending itself. We can take the fight to those who threaten us." With a series of commands, she directed the shield to extend a concentrated projection toward the fleeing entity. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Where the focused quantum field touched the harvester, the dark mass began to disintegrate. its structure unable to maintain cohesion under the assault of human-designed chaos. The entity tried to flee faster, but the quantum projection pursued relentlessly. Within minutes, the harvester's form had completely collapsed, dissolving into harmless particles that dissipated into the void. The control room erupted in cheers, the tension of the past 3 weeks finally breaking. Humanity had not just survived, they had triumphed over a threat that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia. 1 year later, Maya stood on the observation deck of the new Archiver Memorial Station, watching as the first human interstellar vessel prepared for its maiden voyage. The Talus, named in honor of the Archiver who had recognized humanity's unique potential, was built using a combination of Archiver knowledge and human innovation, a harmony of logical precision and creative intuition. Quite a sight, isn't it? Dr. Takeda said, joining her at the viewport. Hard to believe how much has changed in just 1 year. Maya nodded, watching as the sleek ship conducted its final pre-launch checks. The Archivers planted seeds 30,000 years ago, hoping to cultivate a species that could someday join them among the stars. I don't think even they realized what would grow from those seeds. Do you think they'd be proud? Takeda asked. Of what we've become? Maya considered this. In the year since the Harvester's defeat, humanity had advanced more rapidly than anyone could have imagined. The complete Archiver archive, combined with human creativity and adaptability, had accelerated technological development by centuries. The shield, now a permanent defense system, had been adapted for numerous other applications, including revolutionary medical technologies and new forms of energy generation. But perhaps more importantly, the experience had unified humanity in a way nothing else could have. The old divisions of nation and ideology had faded in importance as people across Earth and its colonies embraced their shared identity as humans. The species that had faced extinction and not only survived, but emerged stronger. I think they'd be surprised, Maya finally replied. But yes, proud too. They created the foundation, but what we've built on it is uniquely our own. On the main viewport, a countdown had begun for the Talus's departure. The ship would venture beyond the solar system, carrying representatives of Earth to the stars that had once seemed impossibly distant. Their mission was twofold: to search for any remaining Archiver colonies that might have survived the Harvesters, and to begin establishing humanity's place in the wider galaxy. As the final seconds ticked down, Maya thought of Talus and the other Archivers who had sacrificed themselves. They had returned to Earth expecting to find a primitive species they had once guided. Instead, they had discovered equals who would carry their legacy forward in ways they could never have predicted. The Talus engaged its engines, a brilliant blue glow emanating from its quantum drive as it accelerated away from the station. Maya watched until it was just a distant point of light among the stars, humanity's first step into a universe that was now theirs to explore. 30,000 years ago they came to teach us, she murmured. Now we go to find what remains of them, not as students, but as partners. The ship disappeared into the distance, carrying with it humanity's message to the stars. We are here. We have survived, and we are ready to take our place in the cosmos. What the aliens had left behind, humans now ruled, not through conquest or dominion, but through the very creativity and adaptability that had made humanity worth cultivating in the first place. And in that triumph lay the greatest legacy the Archivers could have hoped for, a species that had not just survived, but had earned its place among the stars through its own unique strengths. The awakening was complete, the confrontation had been won, and now the resolution would unfold. Across the galaxy as humanity stepped into its cosmic inheritance, not as the Archivers' experiment, but as their greatest achievement.